"Oh, that was written by Sam Slick. He was just that was all just a big joke. That's not even his real name. That's a pseudonym." Well, there's new research out, and there was a Sam Slick, but he died before that story was written. So you throw that out, there must have been another Sam Slick, and that Sam Slick may have just been a real person. So that kind of puts the detractors back in their place. But the rock wall itself, now, from what I can tell, here's my take on it, and I'm going to be a little more conservative. There's this process of in earthquakes where a dike will open up, and because of this underground pressure, it will split the earth, sometimes in a cigar shape, like over there in Mount Ararat. There's a couple of big cigar shapes, and it pushes this rock up through the crack, which forms, and it's a different consistency of rock. A lot of scientists and geologists have said, well, the rock wall is just a dike that's filled up with rock. Okay, maybe it is. Does that mean the giants didn't use it, didn't take it apart, rebuild it somewhere else, or dig down and use the existing wall as rooms and add to them and all that? Just to say it's a geological formation doesn't disprove that it has a connection to these giants, because you've got the story over there of this room and all the giant artifacts and all that sort of thing. And several prominent men of Buffalo or Rockwall communities who were involved in the excavation of this thing and saw all these deals, you've got to call all those guys liars or perpetrators of a huge hoax, and then you have to ask the question, well, why would they do that? Has anyone ever come forward and said, oh, man, that was a really great joke you guys pulled on everybody? I haven't found any of that. So it seems to me like what those guys said they saw and what they dug into was real. Well, okay, then there really were giants, and this wall is right there. That may be why they decided to build these underground places there.
Well, even the Rockwall newspaper in the early days reported on this site, and they actually had what they said was a giant skull. They had it at the newspaper office and invited people to come look at it at their convenience. So apparently that happened for some time until the Smithsonian got wind of it, and apparently, Joe, they came and whisked it away, never to see the light of day again, which we know.
We heard that story.
Well, but you have Rockwall documented in your book, Giants Against Evolution, and this is something that's ongoing. Recently, there was an excavation on private land on part of the Rockwall that will be airing on H2 sometime soon. I don't know if it's months away. It may be months away. But Joe, they excavated part of the wall. Did you get to see any videos or footage of the fresh wall, the excavation there from the show that they did?
Well, I just heard from our girl Whitney, who's a little filmographist, and she said she had some really great stuff, and she couldn't share it until she, I guess, agreed to not share it until they come out with their show, which will be, what's that, the National Geographic or Discovery?
It's History Channel's H2.
History Channel. Yeah, okay. She's been asked not to do anything until that comes out. I think she would, show it to us if we went to see her. So I told her, I said, get in there, get some good close shots, see what this thing really looks like. And get a shot right up against it so you can look down at it and see, is there, what does it look like, from like a brick mason's viewpoint. What would he think about it? One of the strange things about those rocks, and you and I have looked at them, they're pretty hard rocks. The ones we looked at, the reconstructed section of the wall there at the courthouse, it looks like the edges had been shaved down, to smooth them up. So if that's a rock formation, I just, it's hard to believe that, well, maybe they did that in the 1970s when they rebuilt it. We don't know. But if you look at that wall, there's all these rocks in there. They're sort of elliptical. They're kind of like thin on each end and bulging in the middle. But between them is what appears to be a ½ inch to 3/4 inch of sand or clay of a totally different material, and it looks so consistent that it looks like a brick mason did it. And I just can't explain that. Maybe that's common geology, but I doubt it. It's a real phenomenon. It's a really wonder. If it's natural, it's a wonder. But again, to say that there was no, that road raider fell into one of these rooms, well, what would he be falling into if there wasn't a room there? And why did they go ahead and build a courthouse right on top of the stuff? I mean, why not make a big deal out of it? I don't know. They're sitting on Disneyland there, and they don't open the doors.
Well, when you and I went there, it was quite a roadblock, and no one knew in the community even about it, hardly at all. There was only just a few people there that knew, and it's quite interesting that no one really knew about it. Why that is, I don't know, but just a lot of new residents in there. They don't even know the history of what's underneath their feet. It's quite interesting. There's so much evidence out there for the Nephilim and the giants. Joe Taylor has documented a lot of this in his new book, Giants Against Evolution. You can get your copy at mountblanco.com. That's www.mtblanco, B-L-A-N-C-O, mountblanco.com. And Joe, you also got some casts and replicas there available as well. You do saber-tooth cat skulls, and you got the big giant femur there for people to come look at your museum at Mount Blanco Fossil Museum in Crosbyton, Texas. And just what do you got, Joe, for people there that's interested? Well,
we've got a little bit of everything. We've got, a lot of people think that dinosaurs are the only thing that makes a museum. And occasionally they'll have a buffalo skull or an Indian display. Some of them will have a mammoth, but they don't tell you much about it. They don't tell you anything you could draw a conclusion from other than, okay, it's a big bunch of bones. We have a lot of buffalo bones here that that if you know about them will show you that the stories they tell about how dinosaurs died and got buried is just not true. You can prove it by these buffalo bones. So we've got those, and they're just cool. They're beautiful shapes. We've got some chert nodules that the Indians busted off fragments from to make arrowheads. And I tell people, anytime you find a chert nodule like this or flint from it, it's not more than 4,500 years old, because that formed in the limestone during the flood. And you can reduce all this supposed long histories of man down to a few thousand years, and it makes much more sense. So we have things like that. This little skull from Peru is going to be the next addition to our catalog, and as soon as we get the word from L.A. Marzulli that he's ready to come forward with it, then we'll start making casts available, and it is fascinating. Skulls themselves are fascinating, but this particular one is it is very interesting.
So you're going to make that available for folks who are interested in buying a cast. I've got one of your saber-toothed cat skulls, which is just one of my cherished pieces in my office. It's a really beautiful work. It came out of the La Brea tar pits, I think, in the 40s. And if you ever get a chance to go to Joe's museum, the Mount Blanco Fossil Museum in Crosbyton, Texas, it's really a wonderful museum. It's one of the largest ones of its kind in the area. It's close to Lubbock, Texas. And you can see the giant femur bone Joe has in there, the 47-inch femur bone, the human femur bone that he was talking about earlier, plus a host and wide array of other things. It is really quite fascinating. Joe, you were just recently on Mysteries at the Museum, which is a show that goes around, and they featured your museum because you have something kind of interesting in there. You have a Chupacabra. Tell us just 1 minute about that.
This is the best specimen so far, mounted specimen of a Chupacabra. It was found in Blanco, Texas, something was getting this guy's chickens, so he put out some poison. Came in the next day. Here's this, oh my gosh, thing laying on the floor. He takes it to his taxidermy coach. They immediately realize it's something unique, so they taxidermied it, froze the carcass, and then got out in the news. The news just went crazy. A friend of mine purchased the whole thing and had me go down and get it and take the carcass then, the frozen carcass, to a major forensics lab, which I did, and I took them also a fresh coyote carcass from the same area, which doesn't look the same at all. And they had it for about a year and a half there at one of the major universities' labs, in a brand new lab that never had any kind of canid in it before, and did all the research and finally rendered the bodies down to just bones. So I have both skeletons of the Chupacabra and the coyote. And a lot of people say, oh, it's just a mangy coyote. Well, it's not. I can tell you that. They're no longer a myth. People used to kind of snicker at the Mexicans because they talked about the Chupacabra, and you better not go out at night. The Chupacabra get you. Well, it's true. And these things, they're known to be pretty vicious. You wouldn't want to mess with one in the dark of the night. But we have it here. You're thinking, well, what does that have to do with the fossil museum? Well, it has everything to do with it. Cryptozoology is the search for hidden or unknown or alleged animals. The flying snakes, the Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, Chupacabra. Well, Chupacabra is no longer a myth. Bigfoot is about to be, I think, every academic's finally going to have to swallow their pride and say, yes, there really is a Bigfoot. It's just about to be exposed. Loch Ness Monster, they're going to have to finally give up and go, yes, apparently the plesiosaur did not go extinct, and so on. So you and I have dug for dinosaurs and mammoths and all that sort of stuff, but they're still pretty much a crypto animal because we don't have one in a museum. We don't know how they sound, what they really look like in color. At least nobody has one in a museum. So if you're interested in dinosaurs at all, you're really interested in cryptozoology. So that's why people love this thing. It's an awful looking animal, but we have proved now, at least the devil dog is not a myth. Now this other Chupacabra, the one that flies and looks like a space alien, just too far out for most people to even consider. We're on the trail of that too. We're not afraid of anything.
Well, people can go by and see that Chupacabra there at your museum, as well as a host of other things. I would encourage you to get Joe's book, Giants Against Evolution, at mountblanco.com. Remember L.A. Marzulli's website at lamarzulli.net. This has been Epic Voyages Radio. Your new guest host, Aaron Judkins, a.k.a. Maverick. You can go to my website at www.aaronjudkins.com. And I'd like to thank Ken Cherry at Epic Voyages Radio, my producer, Joe Champion, and all the guys at Epic Voyages Radio and Inception Radio Network. Thank you for having me on as a guest host. I look forward to bringing you some really exciting shows. Joe, thanks for being on the program with us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
And be sure to go to Epic Voyages Radio on Facebook and epicvoyagers.com. This has been Epic Voyages Radio right here on the Inception Radio Network, saying goodnight all, and remembering, in the time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. Until next time, the truth is out there.
Thank you for being with us tonight. Please join us again next Monday evening for Extraordinary Phenomena Investigations Council's Epic Voyages. I'm Roger Peacock for Epic. Until next time.
Cover up the spine that you're playing.